Hello, everyone. We are welcome to the 9th class out of 16 classes for this free data analytics law course and introduction to SQL and Python. We've done a lot on theoretical knowledge and on understanding data analytics, and we've also started off some hands-on on SQL. We'll continue today with our SQL statements, writing some more data definition scripts and data manipulation scripts as well today. So I'm going to share my screen now, and I'm going to load the SQL data management system on my Management Studio. I believe you have all installed this software as well. If you haven't, you can check out the videos in our previous classes and do the installation, then also import some data into your database so you can have some data to practice with in the class. Okay, so I'm going to share my screen now. Right. So once you have your SQL database management software installed, you can call it up on the friendly user interface IDE. Many softwares, come with integrated tools or friendly interface that you can use to interact with the software, right? So the software for Microsoft SQL in this regard is Management Studio. So you simply go to your Start button and look for Microsoft. You would likely have it in 2 folders: Microsoft SQL Server 2019, which is the latest version of SQL Management Server. You'd also have the Microsoft SQL Server 2. So your ID is a tool that integrates with the management system. So we are just going to expand this and click on SQL Server Management Studio. Okay, right. So now that the software is loaded, you need to as well authenticate yourself as a user. If you are the administrator on your laptop or computer and you were the one who installed the software, you can use Windows authentication, which is the default. So once you get here, you just click connect. In some other cases, you might have been created as a user on the database management system. In that case, you have to switch the authentication to SQL Server authentication, then provide login and password details. For this class, I'm going to use Windows authentication, and I will just click on connect. Okay, right. So in our last class, we already created our test DB, and in our test DB, we already imported some data into our tables, right? So for you to see the tables, you simply expand on test DB, which I did earlier, and expand on tables as well by clicking the plus arrow, plus icon, then you can see your tables. So these are the tables we imported from our Excel sheets into our database management system, right? So in our last class also, we wrote some SQL statements, and statements can sometimes be referred to as scripts. So I could say SQL statements, I could say SQL scripts. So we wrote some scripts in a query file, right? If you want to write any script, you have to write it in a query file. So to get a query file, you just simply click on New Query, or you go to File and click on New, then click on a file here. So a file would open up a new query for you. Let's use this. Okay. This opening a TXT file. We don't want TXT file, so we just click on new query here. Yeah, so this would open up a new query for you where you can write your SQL scripts. In a query file has the .sql extension. Now, if I have an existing file, a file I created earlier, which I already saved, then I can just click on open and load that file. A shortcut way of loading the file is to load it directly from our file explorer. So I have the file for our last class saved on my desktop. This is the file, practice statement file. So I'm just going to drag and drop that file on my SQL. So this is my query file from our last class, and it contains SQL statements which we wrote in our last class. So we are going to continue from here. We're going to open a new file and create new SQL statements. So you can have a query file for each class. Yeah, so let's leave this as the previous class. Let's open a new query file, which we have here, to write SQL statements for today's class. Okay, great. So remember we talked about data definition statements and data manipulation statements. The data definition statements work on objects within your databases, on creating those objects or removing them or altering them. So in our last class, we created a database. We also dropped. So in our last class, we used data definition statements to create database using this script command, to also remove the database, and to create table, to alter the table. Right. Insert is not a data definition language, it's a data manipulation language. Right. So these are data definition statements, right? Apart from databases and tables, which are objects in your management studio, you also have what we call views. So views are temporary tables that are created to store data in progress, right? So you can also create view using the wizard this way, like new view. So when creating a view, right, you would likely create a view from existing tables, right? That's why it's showing us these tables. So for creating a view, because remember I said view are tables you created for work in progress. So let's say you want to create a temporary location to hold data from different tables or to merge data from different tables, you can create a view. So to create a view, you have to select the table you are creating the data from. Let's say I want to create a view from customers. From customers information and from others. The others. So I want to see some information that I want to see a merged data from sales and from customers. So in my sales order table, I don't have the customer names. I only have the customer ID, right? So using this, I can I can combine data from these two tables and say, okay, show me the orders and show me the names of the customers that made the orders. So I can create this into a view. So in my table, I want to see the customer name first. So I have customer ID here, but I don't have the name. But I have this serial number. Remember, it was customer ID before we changed it to serial number. So there's a link between serial number and customer ID. So we have to create that link, right? So I have customer ID, I have customer names. I'm going to pick this as well. I have other information on sales. So I'm going to pick those other information as well. Let's say delivery dates, the currency on the sales, the product. Okay, these are in IDs. I don't want anything ID. I want the order dates, the ship dates, and so on and so forth. So let me stop at that. So I can create all this information all together into a view. Cross join means that it will select all the information in both tables. So once I say save, it will ask me for a view name. A good naming nomenclature for data objects is to start the name with with a description to show the object. So for view, I can say VW underscore any table I want, the name I want to give my table. So I can say VW underscore sales table. So once you click OK, the view is created for you. If you refresh on view here, you are going to see the view created here. So I can close this, I can leave it. If I want to view the data in the view, I can come here, right click, and say edit, just the same. A view is just like a table, right? So I can say give me the data in the view, right? Okay, so in this view, you see that you have repeating information, right? This is not what we want. I'm going to explain the concept of proper joining on our table for us in theoretical before I then show us the practical. So this is not what exactly you'd want to see in your view. You would want to see a merged table. So in this case, you are going to have a join of your customer ID to your serial number, right? So it will not be a customer join. I mean, it will not be a cross join. It will be a join saying that customer ID here is the same thing as serial number here. So don't repeat it. Just pick customer ID and names here. So I'm going to save this, save, and then I'll refresh on my view. Let's do edit now. Okay, hold on. Okay, so save this now. Can close this. We are going to refresh on our view. Then let's say edit. Okay, right. So now we can see customer names. We don't have repeating customer names anymore. Okay, but I want us to view the ID as well. So we're going to go back to the view. You click on design. and then we're going to select customer ID as well. So customer ID, right? So this is selected. I want my customer ID to show first. So I'm going to interchange it here in my design. So, okay, I can change it from here, just like same way we are writing scripts. Can copy this and put it to the beginning, separate by comma. So we click on save. Then we can go back and refresh and look at our data again. So refresh. Right, so can press F5. Okay, let's close this and reopen. Okay, right, so you can see your view. Your view is just like a table, right? So this is our view. I'm going to use this view data information later on again to order on the table, right? So this is one way we can use view. So creating a view is a data definition, where you can also create the view just the same way you create a table. So I can, let me see. Okay, let's do this. Let's just copy the script here and okay. Let's create a view for using scripts. So using scripts, same way you are creating table with proper data definition, that same way you are going to create a view. So you say create view. You have to define your view name. So I want it to contain customer ID, customer ID, integer, the integer must not be null, right? I want it to contain customer names. Date value, order dates, currency code. I'm just going to stop on currency code. Okay, and that's fine. Incorrect syntax. Okay. my spelling of integer not correct? It is not null, comma. I don't think it's case sensitive, but let's see. Okay, let's execute this and see. Oh, yeah, sorry. I know why. Your view selects from tables, so you have to create it as select from table. Yeah, remember I said this table in temporary is a temporary kind of table, so you are not creating it directly as a table. Sorry. So you have to create your view as selecting from a table. Okay, because we are not on the table, right? Okay, so you can test this. Yeah, this gives us what we want. So now we select the values that corresponds to what we are looking for. So a dot customer name, order date is here. currency code. Okay, yes, let me explain this. Okay, so a view is created as a temporary table, a temporary working table from other tables. So we have to define the view as a table, but when defining the view, you don't need to define the field type for each of the columns of the view, because each of the columns of the view is going to take the default field type in the tables, right? So you just define the field by their names, and you can even change the name to a different column name that you want, right? So the data that must feed into the view has to be collected from existing tables. So we use the select command to collect those data. So customer ID is coming from your sales orders table, right? And customer name, order date, currency is coming from your customers table, right? This first table. So there has to be some kind of relationship between these two tables. I'm going to explain to us the different types of relationship in tables in our next class. But for today, we are just looking at how to define tables and other objects. So in this case, we're using what we call a inner join. So this inner join is just simply saying that wherever you see customer, wherever you see serial number in customers table, equate it as well to customer ID in sales table. Then select all this data and bring it into this view. So now that we've defined the script, we can just highlight on it and then we can execute. Okay, so you can see that our command has been executed successfully, meaning that the view has been created. So you can, if you want to see the view, of course, you would click on your database. Your view is a database object. So let me minimize the table so it doesn't confuse you. Right, so your tables are here. Your views are under the views folder. So let's just refresh and then open. So you can see the view, the second view that I created using a script. Right, so there are some commands that, most of the commands that you want to execute, right, there are also easy click methods to writing the script. But it's also good that you know how to write the script yourself, because if you want to write a complex script, you might not be able to use click or friendly clicks to be able to create those commands. So as you go on in this class, you're going to learn systematic ways of writing out your script. So you can create a view using a simple right click and new view, select the new view, select the tables you want to create the view from, right? Just like we did. We selected customers, add, selected sales, add, close. You define the relationship between the table. You define the relationship between the table by a simple drag and drop, saying that customer ID is the same thing as serial number. This defines the relationship. You can see inner join, saying that wherever you see serial number in customers table, equate it to customer ID in sales order table, right? So as I select the field I want to see in my customers table, in my view, it automatically writes it out in the script for me. So customer ID is already selected. I also want customer name. I want I also want some other information. Let's say I want order quantity, I want to know the discount, the unit price. So this way, the same script I've written that's written it for me, right? And all I just need to do is to save the object. So I'm creating another view. I'll call it customer sales prices, and say okay. Right. So this way your script is being written for you, but you also need to understand how to generate these scripts yourself. Right. So if you refresh again, you find the third view that we created. Right. So um, commands like create, drop, alter, these three commands are data definition scripts command. So um, data definition, data definition scripts include create, drop, and all. Right. Um, so sometimes you need this script to create table, right? To also manage your databases and manage objects like your view. You can also need it to work at the back end, that's on the command prompt. Because on the command prompt, all you just need to do there is to write script. So everything I'm writing here, if you write it on the command prompt for SQL, you are going to, execute the same way that's executed here as well. Right. Another thing I want to teach us is how to create database backup. Creating a database backup is just like creating a copy of your database. Remember, I told you that your database comes like a file. There's a file for it. So the whole of your database is implemented as a data file and as a log file, right? But within the database management software as well, you can create a backup, which is usually a .back file. And to do that, you simply use the command create. So in this case, we're going to do create backup. Um, Backup database. So just do create backup. Database. So this is the database I want to back up, right? So you have to indicate to the file and put where you want it to back up to. So I can, let's say I want it to back up to my C drive. I can create a folder in my C drive and call it a backup folder. So I'll create a folder, I'll call it training backup, training DB backup or something. So I'm just going to indicate the file path here. So I'm saying you should create database backup into this file location. So I'll simply highlight this script and I'll say execute. Sorry, I missed this command coming. Oh, okay. Okay, it's just, there's no create there, so it's just backup database. Then indicate the file where it's going to back up to. Oh, okay, to fix, not to file. So it should work now. Incorrect syntax near this. Coming. Oh, okay, I've seen the error. There's a missing equal sign here. It's the syntax, so you have to use an equal sign. Okay, so backup database, this database to this location. So once I execute, cannot open this operating system error, cannot find the path.
Not the spelling. The spelling for training doesn't it affect it?
Oh, okay. Let me check the name. No, that's what I actually. Oh, okay. I think I've seen. I missed the spelling. Thank you. Training. ING backup. Okay, so access denied. Why? Incoming. I need to create the folder, which I already did. So should actually back up into that folder. Oh, okay, I see now. I need to give it a default name. It can't back up directly to the folder. It needs to back up into a file. So I need to give it a file name. So I'll call this test.back. Okay, so fine, it's executed now. Okay, so to back up your database, you also need to give it a default name. You need to give it a name while doing the backup. You can't back up. I was thinking it would give it a name by itself, but no, you have to give it a name. Right, so this is the way to back up. Now, if we check our folder, we would find our backup file in there. So you can see the file is in my folder, right? Test.back. So now, having created a copy of your database, you can load that database also back into your um, server management software. So for you to restore, we call that restore, for you to restore that database into your server management software. So let me remove this database from here. I can say delete. I want to delete this database, but no worries, I already backed it up. So I'm deleting. I can delete from here. I can also use the script drop. Drop failed for test DB, cannot drop DB because it's currently in use. Okay. Yeah, because, okay, let's save this script and close it. Let's drop again. Delete. Delete backup. We can say close existing connections, so that even if there's anything currently in use, it will close it and then delete. Great. So it has deleted the database. But because you have a backup copy, right, you can bring back your database. Right. So you just go to database, right click, click on restore database. Then on this option, you have to pick on device. Remember, you backed up to device. So when you get to device, come here, click on add. You want to add your backup file. I saved my backup file in a folder that I created in my C drive. So this is my C drive. I'm going to look for the folder. I call that folder training backup because I have some other backups on my system. So this is the folder training backup. Right. So in my training backup folder, you can see the backup file. So I'll just click and say okay. Then I'll say add the backup file. Oh, I'll just say okay. Right. So it has selected my backup file. Say okay. You can see database restored successfully. Right. So my database is back now from my backup file and is back as complete. Everything I've created in that database, I'm going to find it, both the tables and the views. Just you find everything as at the last time you took the backup. So sometimes you hear that, oh, people are backing up database or they are doing end of day backup and stuff like that. This is an example of what they do. They are only making a copy of all the data so that they don't lose the data. They make a copy and keep that backup copy in a different location so that in case if there's anything, if there's inconsistency for any reason in the existing data, they can go back to use the backup copy, right? So these are some data definition languages or statements that we need to be familiar with. I'm going to move now into data manipulation statements. And those are the ones we will even use most often. Most often you use select star statement. People have nicknamed it select star because that's the most common script that people use. And select star is just to enable you to view most times the data in your tables or in your database. You can as well use select star to populate a new table that you are creating. Remember when we wanted to create view, we had to create the view as a default table, and then we used select star to load data into that table, right? So select statement is used widely and is used in very, very interesting ways. So I'm going to start with select star now, and we'll do that for the next few minutes before we wrap up for this class. Right, so we have some tables already. So we're going to use select um, script to manipulate data in our table. So we have customers table. Okay, I want to use sales table. My sales table has a lot of fields, right? So I have my sales table. So from my sales table, I can use select to select specific fields from my sales table. And to do that, the syntax for select is always select, then columns or fields, columns or fields that you want to pick. Then from must be there. So you do select from, then the table name. This is not a statement, this is just a nomenclature, a way of writing select. Then you end your, you can, in some SQL management system, you end your script with semicolon. In some, you can leave it without ending it with anything and it will still execute. So just please note this syntax. This is a syntax for always writing your select statement. Select the column fields from table. Select column fields from tables. But a simple, I'm just going to comment this to show that this is a comment statement. Okay, so a simple form of select script is to use select star. Right, so when you say select star from a table, so in this case, I want to use this table. I'm just dragging so that I won't have to type this long table. And this is the reason why we don't. Okay, so remember I told you that when naming your table, avoid using space. Now, when you use space in your table name, for the software to recognize the table name properly, you have to write it in this form. So you have to enclose it in this block bracket, right? But if there's no space, so if I don't put it in the block bracket, it won't recognize it as a table name. But okay, let's change the table name. Let's just change the table name. Rename this. Oh shit. Let's make it one word. Sales orders. Right. And preferably you can even start it with a name description like TB_ sales orders. So in case you have many objects, you have views, you have tables, you have user objects and all that. When you name your table this way, easily you would know what you are referring to. Okay, so without dragging and dropping, I can just come here and do TB underscore sales order. Okay, so this is my table name. Okay, S is missing. Right, so sometimes it takes a while for it to reconcile the new name or the new changes you've made. So what I'm dragging at is whenever you want to select all the data within an object, you just use the star word. I mean the star symbol. So if I do select star from table now and I execute, it will give me everything within that table. So the simplest form of select script using select star. Right. Now in my next script, I'm going to select specific columns. Right, so from this same sales order table, I want to see specific columns from it. So I'm now going to specify the column names. So I'm going to do select, specify the column names separated by a comma. From the table name. So select order number. I can do from the table first so that when I'm typing it, it would. Okay, so I can do order number, comma. I can do warehouse channel or sales channel. Let's do sales channel. Because there's space between sales and channels, I have to use the block bracket to represent it. Then let's do ship date. Okay, so if I execute this now, it will give me just those specific columns. Invalid column, sales channel. Okay, S, there's no S. So you must get the column name right. This does sales as S, channel does not have S. So execute now. Select, I don't want it to execute everything, so I'll just select the one I want. Right. So I can select specific columns from a particular table. If I don't highlight this particular script I want to select and I click execute, it would execute both statements for me, right? You can see the first statement on a first tab. You can see the second statement result on the second tab. So that's why it's important that you select before you click on execute, right? You can also use select to order. If you want your information to come in a given ascending or descending order, so I can use select and order. Select specific columns and order the data. So I want to use this same script, but I want to order the data. So I'm going to say select these columns, then order by. I want to order by the ship date. Oh, okay, no, let's order by the order. Okay, order number is already ordered. Let's order by the ship date. We can see ship date is not ordered, right? We have 6/14, 6/22, 21 is not ordered. So let's order by ship date. So you specify the column, copy, right? Then you need to specify the kind of order, if it's ascending or descending. To do that, you simply use the ASC or DESC. So this is ascending and then this is descending. So in this case, let's use ascending. So I'm going to copy or highlight on this and execute. Right, so you can see it has given me my selected values and ordered the results by the date. So my date is ordered now, right? And I have the results. So let's expand this our syntax for writing select script. So we can say select column of fields separated by comma from table name. Yes, then you can use order by. Also specify the column it can be more than one column. So we can say columns to separated by comma, right? Then specify ascending or descending, ASC or DESC. Okay. We can try another option, select ordering by more than one column. So we want to order by multiple columns now. So let's say we also want to see the unit prices, the ship date, and the prices. Because unit price has a comma in between it, I'm going to use the block bracket. So unit space price. Okay. So I want to do multiple orders. So I'm going to order by ship date, comma, unit price. In my select statement. Right, so if I execute this now, I'm going to have 4 columns, right? Ordered by date and also ordered by the unit prices of the sales in ascending order, right? So this is one way you can use select. Another way you can use select is to use what we call the where clause alongside with the select. Select specific columns. You can do specific columns, you can do all the columns. Okay, let's do all columns. Select all columns and filter by. So on our order now, we want to filter only all the orders made by sales channels. So we are selecting all the columns and filter by a condition in one of the columns. So in this case now, I'm going to do select. Since I'm selecting all the columns, I don't need to write out each of the column names. I'll just use star from the table name, sales orders, right? Um, then I'll use the where clause. Where, okay, we are particular about sales channel. So we want to pick all the sales where the sales channel is a given value. So you have to specify the value. So you can see that we have, okay, we have different values for sales channels here. For us to know the sales channels volume, let's use another. We are going to come back to this script. Let's use a different script to select distinct values in a column. For us to know the distinct values in a column, you will just simply use select and then distinct word. Distinct indicates the column. In this case, our column is sales channel. Then from the table, from sales orders table, you can see that we are still following the same syntax. Select column from table, right? But in this case now, you are looking at just one column and you want to get the unique values in that column. So, okay, without the distinct now, let's say without the distinct, I want to select all the values in a particular column, right? So give me all the values in sales channels column. This is it. But now I want to see the unique value. So I need to use the distinct keyword, put the column name in bracket of it, and simply execute. So now you can see you have these 4 distinct keywords, right? So let's go back to the script we were writing before. So we want to select all the orders that belong to a particular channel, right? So we already know that there are 4 channels or four types of channels, 4 types of sales channels. So I'm just going to say select from the table where this sales channel is a particular given value of channel, right? So space, because I'm specifying a value, I have to enclose it in quotation marks. So I'm going to put quotes. Then I want all the sales that was made from the online channel, right? So simply highlight and execute. So you can see it's giving me only the online channel. Assuming I want to count the total sales that was made from the online channel, right? All I'll do is to select to count the total sales made from an online channel. Let's not rewrite this script. I'm rounding up now. So don't worry, we're going to practice. I'm going to share the file with you and we are going to practice it together. So assuming I want to count all the sales made from this online channel, all I just need to use is to use count, just the same way we use distinct to get values here. We can use the count keyword to get values. So say select count star. Count star simply means count all the rows. Anything counts is counting against the rows. So even if you specify the columns here or you don't specify the columns here, it's still going to work. I can decide to use star and I can decide to use just one column. in the table. If I do count star this and I execute, it will give me a value, right? So this is 2,425, meaning that I have this number of sales that was made through this channel, right? So I'm going to stop here and then I'll leave us to practice. So today we have revised on data definition languages, which are the drop, the create, the alter, which helps you to work on database objects. Then we've also started with the data manipulation languages. We have done only select today. And select is the most popular script statement that people use in database management system, because you can use select in many multiple ways. We have only scratched it on the surface today, and we are going to continue tomorrow. And with select, you can write many complex, interesting scripts, which we would continue with tomorrow. So I'm just taking it with us systematically. So we would see how the script is being developed, right? So then later on as well, I'm going to show us how we can write select simple scripts by just clicking. But it's always best to know how to write the script yourself, because that way you can customize the script to give you any kind of data that you want to get from within your database. As a data analytics expert, understanding how to write SQL script is very important, because you are going to likely work with data from a database management system. Even if your data is not in a database management system, it is always best, or is always better, to import them into the database management system. And your cleaning and your quality checking of your database, of your data within your database management system would be done most of the time using your SQL statements. So it's important to know how to write SQL statements. And that's where we're going to spend quite a number of classes explaining this and learning how to write it. So I want you to practice what we've done today, and then I'll see you in the next class. If you have any questions, you can drop me an email, or you can drop a message in the message box, and you will sure receive an answer. Thank you for joining me in this class. See you in the 10th class. Bye for now.
Bye.